Hey everyone! Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Jane, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Young and the Restless, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. According to The Young and the Restless spoilers for the upcoming 2 weeks, July 28th to August 8th, Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman will find themselves in a difficult situation, and there will be some depressing funeral arrangements. Here's what YNR fans may anticipate from Victoria and Adam Newman's upcoming agreement. Carter will lose it during the week of July 28th to August 1st when he kidnaps Lily Winters and then kills Chance Chancellor in a gunfight. Cane Ashby will have to cope with the gory aftermath once Carter shoots himself next. Cane will be determined to return to Genoa City and carry out all of his plans there in spite of the wrath he will encounter due to the disarray. This includes the idea of getting back together with Lily Winters, who will be more understanding of Cane if she apologizes for claiming he was the murderer. When a helicopter arrives, Nick Newman will receive the medical attention he requires. But while he waits, Nick will give Sharon a kiss, which will lead to some messiness later. Will Nick come to regret that lip lock and advise Sharon not to pursue that romantic path ever again? Lily will contact Nate Hastings to inform him of Damian Cane's murder once cell service is restored. Nate will then have the awful responsibility of informing Amy Lewis that Damian is no longer with them. After all the nice drama, Victor Newman will be planning against Cane with a desire for vengeance. In order to maintain their good relationship and win Victor over, Adam and Victoria Newman are also planning to make a deal. Family unity will be more crucial than ever in light of Victoria's terrible loss. Daniel Romalotti Jr. will then express his worries regarding Phyllis Summers' upcoming plan involving Billy Abbott and Cane. After spending time with Aria Porter Copeland at the park, Daniel will also be Tessa Porter's confidant once more, which will help them bond. Kyle will learn more about Cole Howard's terrible destiny as he and Audra Charles figure out a new way to play with fire. Kyle will be in a difficult situation with Claire as a result, as he will want to console her without making matters worse. If Kyle chooses not to tell Claire about the trap he set, the week of August 4th to 8th might reveal his secret. Kyle may wait to say that Victor recruited Audra to woo him and that he ended up playing Audra. Kyle will try his best to help Claire, but she will be mired in grief for some time. We'll see if it goes forward because Victoria and Claire decided to hold off until the Newman family returned for Cole's memorial ceremony. Of course, Chance and Damian will also have funeral arrangements, though given the number of catastrophes that have occurred, they might end up taking place off-screen. Kyle might catch a peek of Claire's burgeoning closeness with Holden Novak and become uneasy about it. The next stage of Cane's quest can start as soon as he lands back in GC. Although Cane will have many obstacles to overcome, he hopes to succeed and persuade Lily to risk their reunion. According to previews for The Young and the Restless, the upcoming 2 weeks will be filled with challenging tasks and heartbreaking news, so keep an eye out. Since Carter, Cane's loyal manservant, obviously has an unhealthy obsession with his boss, all of Cane's scheming and plotting is going to backfire. According to the most recent Young and Restless teaser, the trip to France is over, and everyone might soon be returning to Genoa City. The majority of them probably won't ever want to ride a train again. Cane confronted his right-hand man after realizing that Carter had the resources and motivation to eliminate Damian, offering to safeguard him in exchange for telling him what had transpired. Naturally, Victor and Chance were waiting for Carter to reveal everything by listening around the corner in the garden maze. As it happens, Lily seems to arrive at the wrong time and place, and Carter seizes her and holds her at gunpoint while yelling at Cane that everything he did was for him. Additionally, the teaser appears to hint at, "That's all, folks." When it comes to Carter, Cane assures Amanda that calling the police was the correct thing to do and that he has been exonerated of any wrongdoing. Well, aside from the fact that he enticed his adversaries to his home, imprisoned them there, exposed them to a maniac, Damian was killed, and Nick almost died on the journey. Every vacation, even the ones you wish you had never taken, must end. When cell service abruptly returns to everyone, Victor believes Cane has realized he has lost the game. Yes, in his office, Cane lets loose his hanger. Even though Cane is down, he isn't out. In the Young and the Restless Monday, July 21st episode, Carter put Nick and Sharon under house arrest, Audra's denials were ignored, and Billy broke off his partnership with Jack. Audra and a towel-clad Kyle shared a passionate kiss in Kyle's sleeping automobile in Nice. He buried Audra's neck with kisses as she ushered him to the bed. He whispered in Audra's ear, "I'm on to you." Audra asked arrogantly if Kyle really thought she was there to woo him. He made fun of her, claiming she felt comfortable with him, and compared it to how she had planned every previous action she had made. Audra argued that the incident was unplanned and that she had been terrified and vulnerable. Kyle said it was low to use her boyfriend's brother's murder as leverage to get him into bed. Kyle had been as interested in it as she had been, Audra shot back. Kyle made fun of the fact that he had mastered the art of pretending just as well as she did, if not better. Kyle thought Nate would find it difficult to comprehend Audra's expression of sadness, even as she sobbed that she had been appalled by Damian's passing and heartbroken for Nate and Amy. According to Audra, she became desperate and resorted to Kyle in a panic. She vowed that she never thought things would go that way and that if he hadn't, she would have retreated. Audra attributed it to her inability to regulate her emotions. Kyle pleaded with her to simply acknowledge that he had defeated both her and Victor. Audra pretended not to know what was going on with Victor. Since Victor was the sole investor in her business, Kyle surmised that he was the one in charge. Victor, Audra claimed, had faith in her and Vibrante. Kyle acknowledged that she was talented, but not in the makeup industry. He thought about Nate's reaction, but she spit out that Nate would never trust whatever Kyle told him. Kyle guessed that Vibrante had been funded by Victor in return for Audra deceiving him into bed in order to ruin his relationship with Claire and violate his contract with Victor. Audra called Kyle an egotistical jerk who believed that everything was about him, and she denied having a deal with Victor. Kyle made fun of Audra's terrible performance. In response, Audra said it was pitiful that Kyle had to sign a contract with Victor in order to keep seeing Claire. Kyle was furious that Audra only cared about herself, and if Nate hadn't already figured that out, he would do it himself. Kyle revealed that he had only agreed to her social media plan in order to keep her on board. He went on to say that she had been willing to go all the way, and he had merely kissed her to see how far she would take it. Before he stopped himself, Audra felt that Kyle had been fully present with her. Because Victor's money depended on her closing the deal, he emphasized that the important thing was that he had stopped while she hadn't. Kyle claimed that Audra was upset with him because he had outplayed her. Everyone had seen him flirting with her ever since they arrived, and she was the one who had prevented him from continuing, Audra sulked. Kyle proclaimed that he was happy that he no longer had to pretend to agree with her foolish perfume war concept because everyone understood who she was and what she was prepared to do to get her goals. He didn't think Vibrante would ever be seen. Audra was reprimanded by Kyle for being so confident in herself that she had failed to recognize his love for Claire. Kyle planned to inform Victor that Audra had failed and would once more be destroyed. He told her to leave. Phyllis complained in the dining car that she detested being positioned between Nick and Cane. When a guy had just died the previous evening, Sharon was surprised that Phyllis was still worried about a job. Phyllis vowed that Damian's death was not Cane's fault. When Nick called her a monster who was shielding a murderer, Phyllis complained. Phyllis thought Nick was there to apologize when he entered. "Are you completely insane?" He growled and said he had more proof that Cane was a murderer. Nick disclosed that in order to keep an eye on his visitors, Cane installed a network of cameras throughout the home. Every wealthy man with an estate has security cameras, Phyllis noted. Nick added that although there were cameras at the murder scene, the screen went blank, therefore there was no video of the actual incident. Phyllis hypothesized that the actual murderer had deleted it, and she maintained that the disappearance of the video was merely convenient for the murderer, not Cane. When Phyllis believed what Cane stated without question, Nick didn't waste time trying to persuade her of Cane's guilt. Nick made the decision to descend the mountain and inquire about the situation with the authorities. Phyllis told him that the police were already on their way and pleaded with him not to go since the hike was perilous. Nick bitterly contemplated discussing with Cane how he had managed to travel back and forth to Genoa City. According to Phyllis, she was also curious in Cane's method. Cane would simply lie to her, Nick growled, and he promised to send the police there before Cane or his cronies could do anything more. Phyllis warned that Nick would appear to be escaping the crime scene. Nick argued that he was more worried about Cane snitching more proof against him. Nick claimed that Phyllis had abandoned their friendship and history in favor of a job. He went on to say that he wanted experts to determine what had transpired and that he was done allowing Cane to tell the tale. Phyllis reprimanded Sharon for not speaking out, and Nick hurried away. Noting that something needed to be done, Sharon took Nick's side. Sharon later visited Nick's sleeping car and demanded to accompany him. Adam had warned Nick that the journey was difficult and steep, therefore Nick suggested against it. They could support each other, Sharon thought. Nick wondered if their lives would ever return to normal. Sharon advised they concentrate on descending the mountain and locating the police because she felt it was too overwhelming to consider everything that had transpired. A knock on the door prompted Nick to signal Sharon to get out of view. There, he discovered Carter and another Cane's employee. Carter told Nick to accompany them because Mr. Nick's threats were alarming, and Dumas's life was in jeopardy. Nick proposed that they reassure Cane that he shouldn't be concerned until the police arrived. Carter declared that Nick would be placed under house arrest. Nick objected, saying Carter lacked the power. Carter made it clear that Mr. Dumas owned it and that he needed to take precautions to keep himself safe. Given that Cane was nothing more than a murderer and a liar, Nick furiously questioned whether the thugs were acting for financial gain. According to Carter, Nick was the main suspect and seemed to be attempting to flee before the police showed up. Nick snarled at the men to move aside. Carter cautioned Nick that the other guard might make things as tough as Nick desired if he forced him to draw his weapon. Stepping forward, Sharon offered to warn Victor. Additionally, Carter told her that she had no choice but to go with them. Jack asked Billy in the garden if he thought Nick should jump down Cane's throat. After Billy said he didn't care, he shifted the conversation to Jack, accusing Billy of disappointing him once more. Jack explained that all he had stated was that Billy had taken him by surprise by giving Sally control of Abbott Communications and changing his mind about giving up on regaining Chancellor. Billy retorted that it was his business and that he had chosen what he believed to be the best course of action. Billy was adamant about making amends for what Jill and Victor had done to him, and he believed Jack's rage stemmed more from his desire to end their agreement than from being taken by surprise. Billy was reprimanded by Jack for his obsession with defeating Victor and Jill without any strategy. Billy asked directly if Jack was out or not after becoming irate that Jack wasn't responding to him directly. Jack blasted Abbott Communications for failing to succeed without his support, but Billy had thought it was acceptable to alter the regulations without telling the person who had made it possible. In order for him and Jack to move on and forget the partnership ever existed, Billy declared that he was going to end it and find a new investor. Billy strode away. Billy poured a drink at the bar and told Jack that their father would have been pleased with Billy's new endeavor. Billy said to himself, "Here's to making myself proud with or without you, Jack," as Phyllis walked up to him. He talked about having trust issues with his brother, and she noticed that he appeared to be as tough as she felt. Phyllis compared Billy to a cat pursuing a shiny, new item, implying that Jack didn't enjoy Billy's pursuit of Chancellor. She lectured that she believed Billy was treating Abbott Communications as a side project since he was often sidetracked and never saw any project through to completion. Billy claimed to have vision, and Phyllis agreed that he was very good at persuading others to believe him. Billy grumbled that everyone who had vowed to defend him had abandoned him the moment he made a choice they disagreed with. Phyllis complained that although she believed Dumas was innocent, she had anticipated to face the world alongside him, but her potential boss would face murder charges. The trip had been a complete bust, and Phyllis lamented that it couldn't get much worse. Billy acknowledged that Phyllis wanted Cane to be innocent, but he questioned who else had the opportunity, the means, and the motivation. Deflated, Phyllis thought about drinking, but decided it would only make her head ache. Billy said they needed Cane to finish the job, she wanted a job, and he wanted Chancellor back. In order to get Cane off the hook, Phyllis suggested that she and Billy collaborate. July 28th, Monday. Nick and Sharon discuss their complex past, Chance intervenes to keep the peace at the chateau, and Victor and Nikki make unexpected choices to safeguard their family. Carter kidnaps Lily and confesses to killing Damian. In a last act of desperation, he kills himself after shooting Chance during a standoff. Soaps.com's most recent Young and Restless spoilers for Monday, July 28th through Friday, August 1st show that as the drama in the south of France intensifies, Victor and Nikki make a risky decision to protect their loved ones. Kyle and Audra's game of one-upmanship puts them in danger, and Damian's family in Genoa City learns of his untimely death. For more information on these teasers and more, continue reading. For Victor and Nikki, no sacrifice is too big, and they take unexpected actions to keep their family safe. We can't blame Eric Braeden for giving in to temptation. Visit https://soaps.sheKnows.com/the-young-and-the-restless/news/790858/Eric-Braeden-photo-ice-cream to learn more and see a picture. At the chateau, Chance keeps the peace. However, we may argue that when Damian was killed, law and order was completely disregarded. An agitated tirade. See who will pass away next. And the murder mystery's most perplexing plot point. Nick and Sharon talk about their complex history. Here are some pictures to help them visualize what they are talking about. Spoilers for Tuesday, July 29th. Young and Restless. Phyllis and Billy stand up for their host because they want to win and keep Cane's favor. The power struggle between Audra and Kyle takes a risky turn. This is going to be painful. Lily is left to tell Nate that Damian, his new half-brother, has been murdered. The new cast of Young and Restless is revealed. We know this is sudden, but... Spoilers for Wednesday, July 30th. Young and Restless. Cane receives a harsh lesson from Victor that we doubt he will soon forget. Could this be a fresh start for the arguing half-siblings? Adam and Victoria declare a ceasefire. Nate tells Amy the heartbreaking news after learning of Damian's demise via Lily. Thursday, July 31st. Spoilers for Young and Restless. Victor brings his family together. Since these times spent together are rarely prolonged, someone needs to get the stopwatch. You are constantly wringing your hands over your children, regardless of how mature they are. It's Jack and Diane's turn to be concerned about Kyle today. Nick and Sharon's situation becomes more complex. For those two, when weren't they complicated? Jack gives up something for Billy. Daniel is dubious of Phyllis's most recent scheme because he and his mother have been down this path before. A new friend lends Tessa a hand. Given that Ian was her final friend, we're terrified, very terrified.